Hello, my name is Tatiana Boyko. I am a visagist, a head teacher of the author's makeup school, Tatiana Boyko. I am often asked what brushes I use, and during 15 years of my practice, I've created my own set. My makeup, I start with eyebrows correction, and this is my author's tweezers. For putting on a tone cream, I'm using a synthetic brush. It can be thin or broad. Using a flat side, I can get into different deepenings. It's very comfortable. Use the broad side on the large areas. The next step is a corrector. I'm putting it on with the same brush, also join fingers. Then a thin synthetic brush is used, which allows you to work with little things I'm not satisfied with. A tone cream has no feature to hide any flaws. It just aligns skin texture and a tone. That's why I put on a corrector everywhere I notice reddened areas. Because the nose is a projecting part of the face, I don't want to light it. This makes it bigger. I use the corrector a half tone darker. If I did it with fingers, I would thicken it and made it massive. So a brush helps me with the putting on a corrector thinly. Fairy jewelry with fingers and clapping movements, and only a ring finger is working. A ring finger puts on, the other, a clean one, shadows, pulls the color. I call these movements commas, and the little finger can erase something and takes a color. Where I need to put on densely, I clap and punch in. Little flaws I'm masking by a thin brush, and it's also a synthetic and round, but it can be made flatter. So different effects are possible here. By main is that it's a synthetic, elastic, and work very good with a corrector. The next stage is a powdering. My set contains 2 powdering brushes. A big and round and a flat, smaller one. If a face is larger, I use the big one. If a face is smaller, I use the smaller brush. So it's not only for powdering, I am able to model the face at once too, with the large or the smaller brush. Change the brush to the smaller one, as it's more comfortable for eyes powdering area. Brushes are very soft. powdering hasn't finished yet because we're gonna use a smaller brush to get areas where the powdering brush hasn't got. Thereby, I'm lightening them and pulling out. All dimples I'm lightening create a fresh, young face effect. The white powdering brush hasn't got under the lashes good enough and hasn't put a powder. That's why I need to use a smaller brush here. If I didn't do it, eyeshadows would put on with spots and the makeup wouldn't be resistant. It would roll the nearest time. The best base for putting the eyeshadows on is a corrector with a powder in a ratio of 1:1. A modeling is very important for me, and you know it can be lightening modeling and the darkening. So the first I will do is a lightening modeling with this brush. It's flat and middle-sized and able to have several shapes due to the fact that it's flat. For modeling, I'm gonna use either a light powder with the white eyeshadows or only white eyeshadows. I'm going to light central areas like a forehead, over and under lip zone, an inner eye corner, and a central triangle. For photo or video filming, you can make the color densely. For everyday life and evening event, you have to control it so that it's not too much. The inner eye corner, independently of any makeup, it has to be done. You might notice that each brush I take the next has a smaller size, so I'll finish my work with a very thin brush for lining, so I'm moving from broad brushes to thin and jewelry one. And of course, a thin line has to be done in the middle of the nose, as thin it is as the nose is elegant. After I have to do the lightening correction by a pearl powder, it just has a pearl fine grain. It gently shines and creates a weakening on the face. Also, I'm helping to the nose thin line. The brush is flat, so I'm able to roll it and make any shape. I need a thin form here. Also over and under the lips into a pit. In any case, in the projecting zones, a thin line below a brow and over it. This shine I'll put on a sunken area, but not on the convex one. The round brush is good at. It's also called cask. My set has a little and a big one. Very soft and airy, doesn't make any bright, dense lines. Also, I'm putting the powder on the inner eye corner, and independently of any makeup I do, it's a face modeling. My makeup is based on arrows. That's why I begin with putting arrows on, and after I'm gonna wear it with smoky version. To make arrows straight, I have to stand in front of and chalk out the outline of the future work. Start my work with a not handy arm. Watch that everything is straight. Approximately it looks that way. I've made kind of a sketch. Next stage is putting on a denser color. I'm making a line with a thin synthetic brush. It can be shaped to flatter. So this brush can shade the arrow, either put it on. I've made the brush flatter here and starting to connect the end with the main line. I must have an effective evening arrow, that's why I'm extending it. The more parallel I keep the brush in relation to the lid, as straighter my arrow is. Not this way, this. Now the end of the arrow, I'm connecting with the general line. More subtle movements I'll do with the brush, which saturate the color. Here's this liner, but after crumble shadows. I have to do a shadowing now, make a frame for the makeup with brown shades. There is a little smaller brush than they were before this one, or who likes cask shaping brushes, it's also functional. It's soft enough. Actually, I prefer a flatter brush, but it's not for everybody. Brown here isn't like a color, it's like a correcting element here. This makeup is going to be a contrasty enough, more to the black. I'm gonna use several colors, it might be gold or silver. This frame is very important for me, which I'm making with the colors maximally close to the skins, and I'll blur closer to the black. That's why the brown here is having a mediting role. Such darkening make eyes bigger, so it always looks well. Very actively, almost equivalently to the width of the brush. Also putting on the color here, roll the flat brush and make the size I need it. Each following darkening I'm making with a smaller brush. It's not necessary to change the brush now, I can just roll it to the thinner side. So that's why flat brushes are comfortable, you don't have to change it all the time, one size to the other one. Next brush is thinner, more jewelry. Black color will work with it. And the more thinner brush, which will make more jewelry movements, and it's more plump in the color because it's more resilient. That's why for very dense black color I use this brush. This brush is oblique, flat and resilient enough. I use it for brows correction, but I'd like to make a thin line. It will make the line more jewelry. For a contrast makeup, I'm using a white eyes pencil. This is aqua green. Without it, I don't manage the makeup. For adding elegance, sometimes it's needed, I use gold. This applicator helps to put on a color densely enough, it looks nice in dynamics. For higher contrast, lighten the inner corner of the eye by white matted eyeshadows. Very important to make the line elegant, expressive, and using a liner, I'm correcting some drawbacks which has been done earlier by Aqua Green.
No, Janie, my girl, this might prove a very fortunate trip for you. Ed Stevens is a handy man with figures and ideas. Come on over, look at some of the evidence. Help, George, hanging the things you need where you need them.
I'm modeling the shape of the eyebrows now. Along some zones, I want to shade the clarity of line by Aqua Green. Face modeling aimed to the darkening. As wide the brush as stains less, that's why I prefer doing it with a white one. Usually with face modeling, I use the second brush too, more or less, to draw the cheekbone. Metal brush for eyelashes helps you to brush lashes stick together because of mascara. Golden sheen. I'm changing the lipstick color and use the other color in the eye makeup.
All the time.
I want to complete the makeup with a colored stain using a bright blue pencil, and I want to put it along the inner eyelid. Pencil along the inner movable eyelid and beige lip glosser is a very different version of makeup. Tatiana Boyko has been with you.